Would you believe insomnia is one of the top reasons for calls to Leaf 411? It's really no surprise when you consider the fact that the desire for better sleep is among the top reasons older adults seek out cannabis in the first place. I'm Stephanie Maruca. I'm a registered nurse and certified case manager, and I've been a cannabis nurse since 2016 when the plant became medically legal here in Florida. Today, I'd like to share with you a little bit about how cannabis may help improve your sleep. So if you're ready to put those sheep out to pasture, I am glad you're here. I did a little research on the sheep counting and how that originated, and it turns out the shepherds were obligated to keep track of their flock. So before they went to sleep each night, they counted the heads of each sheep. Now, today, we've transitioned that into counting sheep jumping over fences in order to help put our mind into a rhythmic motion in preparation for sleep. Though I think that's actually been recently disproven, which makes sense because my sheep do not jump fences. They have dance parties in my head. So if any of this sounds familiar to you and you're not getting the sleep you think you should be, you have a right to be concerned. High blood pressure, diabetes, heart attack, heart failure, or stroke are some of the more serious conditions that can be caused by sleep deprivation. Obesity, depression, daytime fatigue, and lower sex drive are included in those too. So you can see insomnia is more than just a daily aggravation in our lives. It really has the potential to damage our health. So when talking about insomnia, we want to think about what is poor sleep. There are different types of insomnia that you need to know about before broaching cannabis use. Do you have acute insomnia, which is lasting days to months? And you can think of this as a new onset pain. Let's say you gardened too long and your knees are bothering you, or you picked up your grandchild wrong and hurt your back. Those nights when you just can't get comfortable in bed because you overdid it. Environmental reasons fall under acute as well. Sleep becomes less restful as we age, so light and sound can wake us more easily. Like the mockingbird performing his local concert from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. in the tree outside your bedroom window. Wait, that's my window. And then we move on to chronic. Chronic insomnia is lasting 3 times a week for up to a month or more. That is affected more by things like lifestyle habits. And here we think about caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, and then also disease process, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, restless leg, and anxiety can all have a huge impact on our regular sleep. And I think we can all agree COVID-19 has impacted our lifestyle. The uncertainty, the fear, the isolation, it's all contributed to higher alcohol use and increased depression and episodes of anxiety. So I want to also talk about onset and maintenance. When we look at types of insomnia, do you have trouble falling asleep? That's onset. Do you have trouble staying asleep throughout the night? That's maintenance. So take a moment and see which category or categories of these fit you. And talking a bit about how cannabis can actually work for insomnia. Cannabis works with our endocannabinoid system to help induce sleep and restore quality rest naturally. The endocannabinoid system is the largest receptor system in our body and is responsible for promoting that balance or homeostasis to keep us on an even keel. Successful treatment of insomnia with cannabis depends on dose and delivery method, and not only how much, But how? How are you consuming it? Avoiding most of the adverse effects associated with cannabis use is quite possible by knowing the strength of the cannabis you're using and how quickly the method of ingestion begins to work in your body. Now, you may have heard the old adage, start low, go slow. That will never go away. It's tried and true. Take your time working up to a dose that provides you the relief to your symptoms without the undesired effect. And it's key to note what works for you is not going to be what works for your friend or your neighbor or your sister-in-law. It's very, very individual. Now let's talk about the ways you can consume cannabis. There are more methods than this listed here, but these three are most important when we're talking about treating insomnia. Inhalation is a quick onset, 5 to 10 minute effect, shorter lasting effect, and we're talking here about smoking or vaping. The oral route is a slower onset, sometimes 45 to over 60 minutes, but it does have a longer lasting effect to stay with you. And here I'm speaking of edibles like chocolates or gummies and tinctures that come in dropper bottles. We also have the sublingual route. That's a mid-range onset, really in between the two of inhalation and oral. It has a longer lasting effect. And we're talking here about sprays and tinctures that go directly inside your oral mucosa or under your tongue. I think you can see how inhalation may help someone who needs help falling asleep or tends to wake up in the middle of the night and can't get back to sleep. The oral and sublingual may be better used for someone who tosses and turns consistently throughout the night or just isn't reaching that level of deep rest that we so desperately need to keep healthy. And moving on to the effective compounds for insomnia. Now, the cannabis plant has many, many more compounds than the 4 I've listed here. But once again, for the purposes of insomnia, these are key. We have CBD, THC, and CBN. These are cannabinoids in the cannabis plant. CBD, many of you have heard of by now. It's the non-impairing compound, and it's really known for easing anxiety and inflammation. CBD may be a good option to use as a treatment during the day, as it's calming the body and mind in a gentle fashion, behind the scenes, so to speak, and then preparing you for good sleep that night. THC is not CBD's evil cousin. It actually is a very, very beneficial cannabinoid in cannabis that, while potentially impairing, that can be avoided by going low and slow with the dosing process, as I mentioned before. THC can initially cause excitement or alertness, but as that drifts off over the course of about an hour, it provides a beautiful sedative effect that can set you up for a solid night's sleep. CBN is another cannabinoid with a sedative effect, but the other benefit of this cannabinoid is it provides relief from pain and inflammation in the body from conditions such as arthritis. Now, terpenes are not cannabinoids. They are actually a different type of molecule in the cannabis plant. Not only in the cannabis plant, I should say, they're in all plants on earth. Plants, fruits, flowers, they're responsible for the aroma and the taste of these plants. And interestingly enough, maybe uniquely enough, they have their own medicinal qualities. So the two that I've listed here, myrcene and linalool are the two that provide the most calming or sedating effect. The reason I bring this up is because when choosing a product to help you sleep, you most likely will want to choose a product that contains these these terpenes. You would not want to choose a product that's high in a stimulating terpene, such as limonene or alpha-pinene. There are many dosing considerations to take into account here. Age, medications, sex, and genetics are four of the keys. Age is important because as we age, our metabolism declines. It changes, and what that means is basically possibly requiring a lower dose of medication. Taking too much medication on the front end may build up in our systems, providing that unwanted cannabis effect. Medication are the other things we have to consider. What medications are you taking? Cannabis has a potential to raise or lower the effect of other medications that we put inside our body. This is especially important when we talk about certain blood thinners or antidepressants. Sex, hormones can interfere wildly with metabolism. And finally, genetics. Our genes can affect the body's response to medication. Even our pharmaceuticals have profiles linked to specific gene profiles, so we know what may potentially work best for certain people. The same applies to cannabis. Now, your keys to success in using cannabis for insomnia. As much as I could sum up in 15 minutes today, you want to partner with an experienced professional. I don't know, like Leaf 411 cannabis nurses. They're highly educated, solidly knowledge-based professionals that will guide you to a physician if that is required in your state. They can recommend safe dispensaries for which you can purchase your medication. They will guide you in dosing low and slow and choosing a product that fits your needs. That is so very important. There are many is an understatement, number of products on the market in this day and age. It's key that you are working with someone who understands those products and is familiar with them before striking out on your own. Choosing a product that fits your needs and knowing your product. I'm a cannabis nurse. I recently purchased a new CBD product that I wanted to try. This is a very solid product, well grown, well made, well processed. I felt very confident in my choice. Well, when I started it, first day, noticed nothing. Second day, I began to itch a little bit. Third day, I was itching from head to toe. And when I say head to toe, I mean head to fingertips to toe tips. It was awful. The next day, I began to develop hives, huge hives on my face. My tongue started to feel fat and swollen. I didn't know what, I knew I was reacting to something, but it never crossed my mind. I had to actually call a cannabis nurse friend just to complain about how terrible I was feeling. And she said, "Have you started any new products?" Well, yes, I had. I didn't even think about that. So I stopped it right then and there. I took some medicine to curb the allergic reaction. And over the course of a few days, I'm slowly feeling more myself. And always follow up with them. Cannabis is not a one and done. It requires follow-up. It requires engagement. It requires your commitment, because it may take a little while to find not only the product that is right for you, but the dosing that's proper for you as well. So in closing, if you have tried prescription medication, chamomile tea, warm baths, lavender pillow spray, I don't know, maybe even bought a new mattress, and you are still not sleeping well. Maybe it's time to give cannabis a try. Thank you.